Hey, it's Jeremy from Blue Water Climate Control. Today we're going to be talking about cleaning your evaporator coil. How often should it be cleaned, how to tell when it needs to be cleaned, and exactly how do we clean it. Okay, this is your evaporator coil. This is going to be what cools the air in your house, or if you have a heat pump, it's also what heats it. But air flows through this coil. It flows in through the bottom. There's an opening in the bottom and flows upward through this coil and out through these fins and into your ductwork. This particular coil is an old coil. It's used. You can tell it's got lots of rust damage. It was replaced recently, and there's a lot of the pan's pretty dirty. Just real quick on the construction, this has copper tubing and aluminum fins, and then it has this galvanized steel that kind of holds it in the A shape. This is an A-shaped coil. You can kind of see there on the end how that's an A shape. It's an A-shaped coil. This actually was a cased coil, so your evaporator coil will be in your, if you have a furnace, it'll be sitting on top of your furnace in a case. If you have a heat pump, air handler, this will slide into the cabinet of your air handler. Or if you have a package unit, it will be within that main casing inside the package unit. The refrigerant flows in through this small tube here and into the bottom of the coil, and then it flows through the coils just like this all the way up and then out the top and back to your compressor. It also has this drain pan here. As you know, during the summer months when this is cold, it's going to sweat. All that condensation is going to go into your pan and then go out here through your PVC into your drains. All right, that's kind of real quick how the construction. These aluminum fins, as you can see, these are real close tolerances. You can't see through the coil, but air does flow through here. So this is something, it doesn't take very much dust to basically insulate these fins so that it doesn't transfer heat like it should. And when that happens, obviously your air is not going to get as cold as it should, and then obviously it's going to, your unit's going to run longer and you're going to have higher utility bills. Now, how often should it be cleaned? So let's just reference and relate it to your outdoor coil. Your outdoor coil is outside, obviously. It's always in the elements. It's always exposed to dirt, rain, weather, pollen, and it's constant. It runs all through the summer. If you have a heat pump, it's also running all through the winter. So it's constantly got dirt cycling through it. So we clean it. We want to clean it every 6 months. But because this evaporator coil is inside your ductwork and it's filtered, this air goes in through your return, through your filter, through the blower wheel, and into this. There's some cleaning that happens there. So we're going to recommendation here is to clean this at least every 2 years. At least every 2 years. You can, if you're a very religious filter changer, or if you have some extra like air cleaners and things like that, a HEPA filter, you can push this out to about 3 years, but should be getting it cleaned every 2 to 3 years, just based on the time and how long it takes and how long it will go before it gets dirty. All right. So next question we wanted to ask is how do you tell it needs to be cleaned? Well, it's kind of a trick question because the answer to that question is when. Basically, when was the last time it was cleaned? Because if you can't trust your eyes when it comes to this evaporator coil. Obviously, it's going in the bottom, so we're going to be looking at the inside of the coil in order to tell whether or not it needs to be cleaned. But if you wait until a coil is so much dirt has built up that it's actually on the outside face of this coil, then you've waited way too long, because now you're not just insulating the fin so there's no heat transfer, you're also affecting airflow rate. And low airflow rate is actually a worse problem than some, a little bit of insulation on this coil. All right, so you don't want to wait. So the answer to the question, how do I tell it needs to be cleaned? Well, if it's been more than 2 to 3 years since the last time it was cleaned, then it needs to be cleaned. Finally, we want to just, when you, one more question, part of that is, one more thing about that is when to clean it. And the when to clean it is interesting because you may be thinking, okay, well, it's summer now, the coil's not being used, and so I can wait till the spring. Probably best time to clean it is in spring. Well, that's not true, because all summer this thing has been wet and damp, and dirt and debris has been blowing through it for 4 or 5 months straight. And during that time frame, all of that dirt and debris has kind of collected in that wetness. It'll collect and settle on there. And now you turn on your heat, and all it does is bake that dirt and dust onto the coil. That water that's left in the pan dries up and leaves that residual dirt and debris. It dries up and gets hard in there, and it gets harder to clean. Another thing that happens when you leave it like that without cleaning it at the end of the summer is that that dries up, and then the loose stuff starts to flake off. And when it starts to flake off, then it ends up blowing down your ductwork and into your home. And then next summer, whenever you start it back up, it gets wet again, and those biologics and things start growing on it again. So we want to clean this thing every 2 years, and the best time to clean it is right at the end of the summer, just before going to fall, before it gets hot the first time. That's the best time to clean it, while it's all still wet and it comes off really easily. We clean all of our coils with a steam cleaner. This is a superheated steam. This is going to knock off all the dirt and debris. It's also going to be hot, so it's going to kill biologics and things like that. And because we have different tips, we can reach a coil. See, a coil is obviously not going to be this wide open when you clean it inside your home. It's going to be inside of a case. We're going to have a very small opening. It could be in a crawl space. It's going to be in an attic, something like that. So we're going to have we have this tool. We can reach all different angles. It has a brush attachment that goes with it. You have to be careful with the brush, because these coils are really easy to fold over and bend. So we're just going to take this, and we're going to first blow it from the outside in. That way, everything that was kind of pushed through and into those grooves, we're going to blow back out to the inside. And then we're going to go to the inside, maybe use a light brush, and then brush off the inside of those coils and get all that dirt off there. Great thing about the steam is, one, obviously it gets hot. We talked about that already. The other thing too, because it's superheated steam, it's not going to create a lot of water mess. And then the third thing is that we don't have to use, because of what it is, we don't have to use a cleaner. So if you're someone who's sensitive to chemicals and odors, and like chemical odors and things like that, we won't need to spray your coil with a cleaner in order to clean it with this steam. All right, another great thing about it is I'll be able to clean out the pan really well. So all of that residual water and things that, where mildew is going to build up, things like that, I'm going to be able to clean out. It'll also reach, because of the tip, it'll kind of get under into those deep grooves and things like that, where conventional cleaning methods, brushes and things like that, we're not going to be able to do that. But this steam is a really good product. It's how we clean all of our coils. And what we really recommend is, again, doing this during the fall and then keeping that going every 2 to 3 years. All right. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you learned a little bit about how your evaporator coil works and how to steam clean it. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks.